Okay, hello everyone. I'm over at my townhome that I recently closed on here in Chicago. It is a scorcher today. We're up in the probably mid 90s, definitely into the 90s, and it's quite humid. But I wanted to show you guys what's going on with the property. Let me get out of the basement real quick. Since we're in the middle of restaining the floors. Ooh, I look really dark there. Yeah, let's get some light again. Because like I said in the first video, when I broke down this deal, go ahead and check that out in the description below. Sorry if I'm a little echoey, I'm using my camera microphone, so I apologize if it's not too great, but as you can see, we're in the middle of restaining the floors, and they're not stained yet. But as you can see, they've been mostly sanded thus far, and half of this property is hardwood, and the other half is vinyl plank, as you can see over here in the kitchen. That's some tools and stuff over there, so it's not particularly exciting. But as you can see, this is started to be sanded. It's Sunday today, so no one's here. My flooring guy will continue work in the coming days. Guess we can head upstairs, take a look at that. And as you can see, mostly the same. We've sanded out the floors, and that's the first step to staining wood floors. Is you got to get rid of the old stain first. So you sand all that down, and that'll get rid of some imperfections as well. But it's kind of tricky with some wood floors because they'll often be quite uneven. So you got to be pretty good and know what you're doing with sanding. It's not as simple as just running a sander over it and being done. That's why you should hire a professional, most likely. I was strongly considering doing it myself, but it's very time consuming, and I'm trying to value my time as an investor. I can look for more deals. I can actually focus on my actual career as an attorney. So I'm constantly trying to ask the question, who, not how. And sure, I could figure out how to sand the floors down and then actually restain them. It's not rocket science by any means, but it's just considerations you make when you're investing in anything, especially in real estate, especially in something that might need some work. Consider your time value, whatever that might be. Maybe it does make sense to save a few grand on your rehab by doing the work yourself, pour your time into it. That can be very lucrative. But if you have a career where you're making more than you might otherwise, or more importantly, if you take 3 times as long, you got to value your time that way. It's not as though, oh, this is a 3-day job for a professional, but it might be a 6, 7, or 8-day job for an amateur like myself. So got to consider that when you're doing your estimations for as to what things will cost. Anyways, back to the floors. Another thing that I had my guy do, so you can see down here, see these little holes? So these are screws to help get rid of some of the squeaking, and it got rid of quite a bit. This is kind of a relatively temporary fix. So the screws are put in, then you put wood filler over that, and then you want to do this around the time you're staining, because otherwise it'll look very unsightly. So you can see kind of, this is what the wood filler smeared over it looks like. You have to get that off. So that will be sanded off. He hasn't done the edges yet, obviously, but that will get done. But that's what these little holes are. They shouldn't be that noticeable once everything's stained. It'll look more like imperfections in the wood, which gives it a more natural look, I suppose. If you look closely, you'll notice, like, hey, what is this row of little dots here? Those are screws to help with the squeaking. And that should last at least a few years. Well, we'll see how long it actually lasts, but better than having to actually get at the root of that problem, which is ripping out the entire hardwood floor, getting to the subfloor, and nailing down or screwing down the joist. That's what causes hardwood floor squeaking. And let's see if you can hear it at all. Not much. Oh, there's a little bit. Yeah, but it was much, much worse before he went and did that. So that's a quick fix. If you have squeaky wood floors, maybe in one spot, and you don't want to rip up the floor to get to the joist, you can always screw it down. That should last you at least a number of years, or at least it'll cut down on some of the noise. But it's probably not a permanent fix, but I think it is an okay move while we're at it. I don't want to rip out these floors just to get rid of some fairly minor squeaking, all things considered. So just another option when you're looking at wood floors. This is my first major sort of, I don't want to call it a rehab because it's not much work. Only really 2 major sort of items we did on this property are restaining the hardwood floors. Going down the stairs, I want to be careful trying to talk and look at a camera while going down the stairs is actually kind of tough. So restaining the hardwood floors, that should add a little bit of value on the back end, and then also rental value as well. The floors were pretty not good looking when we first bought the property. They needed a refinish, so I'm glad we're getting that done. The other thing we did is we did some masonry work on the outside. I'll include some footage right now of that masonry work. Again, pretty minor repairs. That's more preventative maintenance. It's not going to do much to the value of the property, but I don't want this to turn into a bigger problem long term. It's kind of like a roof, I suppose. Replacing a roof really doesn't add a whole lot of aftermarket value, even though it probably should. But you need to do that because if you don't, you're going to run into leaks, run into bigger problems that will definitely affect the value in a big negative way. So you got to take care of those things. It's just the cost of doing business when it comes to real estate. That's why I set aside capital expenditure budget every single time I go through a month, go through your monthly expenses, add some reserve funds there to take care of future capital expenditures because they're going to come. So anyways, the masonry work that was completed already, and that will prevent any sort of worse corrosion. You don't want bricks falling apart. It just, you don't want the wear and tear to be a lot worse than it would be if you just had the masonry work done, because you want to take care of the building. So that's kind of my general lesson here. I'm kind of rambling a bit, but take care of your properties. That is really all you can do as a landlord, as a homeowner. Make sure that you don't let things fall into disrepair. You're going to hurt in the long run when you do that, and that the property is going to lose value, and you're not going to be able to command as high of rents. And then when you actually have to fix them, you're going to need to bring a lot more cash to the table than if you had just taken care of things as they came up and did your preventative maintenance as appropriate. So that's my 2 cents. This is only my 3rd deal, and this is probably the most substantial amount of work I've done to a property, in that we're actually restaining all of the floors. The one in Indianapolis needed some pretty substantial work on a few things. It was more like a bunch of little minor things that all could be taken care of pretty quickly. So this is probably my most major compared to that one. And then just the floors, some masonry work, and maybe it just feels major since I've been moving furniture in for my wife and I to move in pretty soon in the next couple days. In total, we're putting right around $5 grand into this property to touch it up, make it look nice. I know the floors seems like more than just a touch up, but that's kind of all it is. It's just coloring. It's so amazing that real estate, so much money goes into just cosmetic things. And that's what really drives a lot of value. It's that last 5%. It's the finishes, it's the paint, it's the trim around baseboards. It's all these little things that really don't matter in the grand scheme of life, but that's where a lot of the money goes, and that's where a lot of the money is earned in real estate. It's the cosmetic stuff, even though the systems are generally much more important if you really look at the whole building. You can't live in a place without air conditioning if you're in a very hot or cold climate. You can't live in a place without an actual roof over your head. You can't live in a place without windows. All these things don't really reflect much in the property value, even though that's really what the property is. It's the systems. All the nice lipstick around it, it really isn't all that expensive in the grand scheme of things, or all that important, I should say. But that's where a lot of the money does go, and it makes it expensive in some cases. You got to be careful not to over-improve as well, which I'm trying not to do, since this will be a rental long-term once we move out of it. I'll be living in it for probably about a year. At least that's how long I have to live in it. So I plan on living in it for at least a year, and then we'll move out shortly thereafter, most likely. Anyways, I'm looking forward to getting this flooring project done so that we can then move in most of our furniture and decorative stuff, since you don't want to actually put that on top of the floors before it needs to be stained, because you're just going to keep moving it around. So once this will be done in the next few days, we'll kind of get everything moved in and set up, and then we'll turn our other unit, which I'll definitely update you on the channel, because we're going to have to be doing a little bit of work there to get that one ready to go as well. Since that will be our new rental, it'll be our old primary residence. This townhome I'm in right now will be our new primary residence, and then eventually we'll do the cycle all over again. It'll become a rental, and then we'll get another primary residence. Take advantage of that long-term, fixed rate, low interest financing, low down payments. Got to be careful with any amount of debt, of course, but man, the loan terms are pretty substantial, so that's what we're going for there. Anyways, that's all I've got for today. If you like this style of video, I don't do it very often, just me talking about whatever's going on. I like trying to fill people in on what's going on with my real estate ventures, or really just any investing ventures. That's the whole point of the channel, is transparency and just kind of keeping myself honest on what I'm doing. And plus, I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned in my journey. Since I'm not a veteran investor, many people have done hundreds or thousands of units that they have under their belts, so much more to learn for me, of course, since they're still learning as well. If they're still learning, I definitely have a lot to learn. So I'm trying to document that and provide as much value as I can while I'm going through the process. So if you like this sort of content, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any new content, since I put out new videos every single week as they have to do with investing and personal finance. And check out the free stuff and the affiliate links in the description below, since that would also help the channel out a lot. But until next time, take care.